These past few months, we've all experienced waking up early and going and waiting in line all to get some basic necessities. Things like toilet paper, paper towels, maybe some hand sanitizer, and even food items. Sometimes even after waiting in line day after day, we still had a hard time finding some of these products. Some of our stores had limits on things you could buy per household. So while some of these things were really tough on the American people, it is a little snippet that pales in comparison to what the Romanian people had to go through under communism. Today I want to talk to you about who the communist leader of Romania was, what communism looks like for the Romanian citizens and how it affected them, and last, the fall of communism, which was the Romanian Revolution. Let me tell you a little of who the communist leader of Romania was. In 1965, Nicolae Ceausescu became head of state. He declared Romania was no longer a people's democracy, but a socialist republic, and he changed the name of the party back to Romanian Communist Party, or Partidul Comunist Român, with the abbreviations PCR. Ceausescu visited several communist countries, and he came back really impressed with China and Korea's leaders. One of the new ideas he had after visiting other communist countries was something called patriotic work. In this, he could take the youth from the schools and use them to get free agricultural work out of them and industrial work out of them, all in the name of patriotic work. Ceausescu also got a lot done with his secret police called Securitate. Ceausescu and the Securitate maintained rigid controls over free speech and media. Their tactics included arrest, imprisonment, torture, execution of political enemies, and intimidation of potential opposition members. NATO spokesperson Oana Lungescu recalls, "Growing up in communist Romania, you carried around a terrible certainty that 1 in 30 people was an informer for the dreaded Securitate police. In a country as large as the US, that would total almost 10 million Americans all spying on each other." So what did communism look like for the Romanian people? Well, the country had lots of foreign debt, so Ceausescu ordered the export of much of the country's agricultural and industrial production. This meant extreme shortages of food, fuel, energy, medicine, and other basic necessities. There was food rations per person. Like I mentioned earlier about staying in line for basic necessities, the Romanian people started lining up outside as early as 4 a.m. for their food rations. My mother remembers being away at high school, and over there you lived away for high school. So before coming home on the weekends, she'd go get her sugar ration so that she could bring extra sugar home for the family. She'd ask her school friends to go get themselves their sugar rations, but in turn they'd give it to my mom. This had to be really sneakily done because if you got caught having extra sugar, you could get in trouble for that. But Romanians used this in order to exchange it for other items that they needed. So my mom would bring back little gifts for the girls, or maybe bring back pastries made with that sugar from their rations or whatever it was, all in exchange. So the people did this to help each other out. Even hot water and electricity was rationed. Electricity would usually be turned off from 6 to 8 p.m. each night to preserve energy. At 8 p.m., the kids would come inside and they joined the parents watching the only 2 hours of TV allowed each day. There was a state-controlled cartoon with a hero named Mihaela, and I found a picture of her. The other shows that they were allowed to watch were focused on programs related to crime and poverty in the Western world, which depicted them poor and suffering because of capitalism. This was to brainwash the Romanian people to believe that they needed socialism and communism to solve the inequalities of humanity. Remember when I mentioned in the beginning about Ceausescu's great new idea of patriotic work? Well, I interviewed Claudia Bibaud, who lived in Romania during communism. Claudia and her friends were having a discussion all about those times, and I quote, "They forced child labor in agriculture. We were required to work from 5th grade all the way through college for free for the government each day from 9 till 4 p.m., 5 or 6 days a week at the beginning of each school year. They would put us on buses, drive us to the fields of corn, tomatoes, beans, grapes, whatever it was that day, and force us to work continuously, with just 30 minutes break to eat whatever we brought from home. They would have guards watching us constantly to make sure we wouldn't slip some vegetables in our bags to bring back home to our hungry family members. Yes, socialism was all about equality, but we were equally miserable. So as you can see, the Romanian people were unhappy with those times. They weren't happy with their lives and with Ceausescu, and people couldn't further their lives living there. A lot of people decided to try to seek asylum in Yugoslavia by escaping, just like my father did, swimming in the middle of the night across the Danube River into Yugoslavia, risking his life, risking getting shot at, risking getting imprisoned, beaten, and tortured, all to give us a better life. This brings us all to the Romanian Revolution. The people were unhappy. So a national revolt broke out in the morning of December 22nd, 1989 in Bucharest. Under the immense pressure of the population, Elena and Nicolae Ceausescu tried to escape from the house of the people by helicopter, but they were captured. The couple was briefly tried, convicted, and executed by firing squad on December 25, 1989. Nicolae Ceausescu's communist regime was immediately removed, and Romania was at last able to reopen its borders and embrace freedom and democracy. More than 1,100 protesters were killed during that time. Soon after, the Communist Party dissolved and has never been revived. Nicolae Ceausescu managed to pay off all of Romania's external debt of $11 billion, but at what expense? At the expense of his cruel communist regime that affected his people and left them poor, hungry, and cold, fighting for their rights and their lives, which ultimately ended up in his death and the fall of communism in Romania.